Welcome back to our Python class, and we will talk today about testing. So, in fact, the good news for you is that we've been testing all along. Whenever we write a program, of course, we do some, so say, manual testing. We test things, it's inevitable. However, to write larger programs in general, it's a good practice to have a more formal approach and actually get some terminology right about testing, and also see how actually testing is not that painful even when implemented correctly. Not everybody likes writing tests, but we'll see you can make it not so painful. So, types of testing, I'll type something like this. So, right, there are different types of different types of testing, right? Unit testing, which we're doing integration testing, and system testing, acceptance testing, right? Again, we will talk mostly about unit testing. So unit testing, right, which is actually what we'll be focusing mostly today, right? Basically is lowest level. We test the individual components of our software, right? That's what we're going to be focusing on today. So how about integration testing? Well, we test how the components work together, right? We combine different modules, right? This is a little bit harder, right? Again, in fact, there are a whole class of developers actually who just all they do is testing. Actually, it's a big field. Actually, there are actually companies which all they do is testing. Actually, right? It's sometimes, again, there's different ways of saying. There's whitebox testing and blackbox testing, right? Also, we'll talk about that a little bit. And system testing, again, we're going to cover it, right? Where a complete system is tested, and finally, acceptance testing is basically where systems tested for acceptance. Well, by usually it's done by customer or user, right? So that's not what we're not going to cover. This not going to cover this type of testing, right? All right. So also this one we won't cover the whole system testing, but integration, unit testing. Also another way to split to classify testing is whitebox testing and blackbox testing. So whitebox testing, is where you know the internals of the code. That's when you don't know the internals of the code, right? So not covered here, right? You just know it does what it does. But so this is what we're going to talk about. This is the purpose of this lesson. Lesson, right? It's the test, right? Yeah. Right. So we covered in today, right? So we're going to do basically whitebox testing, of course, unit testing, and mostly cover a focus today. Today's focus is on focusing on this today, right? All right, focusing. All right. So how do we do this? Well, again, at the simplest level, let's say we could have a function, right? Let's make a simple function. Let's make some functions, right? And I could make a function, right? I'll make a function. My fun, right? I'll have a function, maybe add, right? I could say make a simple add function, right? And define add and return a plus b. Okay, but we want to test, of course, right? So what could we do, right? Again, I mentioned we already know we could do. Again, we could do simple, right? Subtract function. We'll do that later. But so main guard, right? Right. If name is main, and well, assert, right? So that's basically it, right? Assert. Remember what assert? Remember assert works like a statement. We'll throw an error. We'll throw if the condition is not met. So basically, right, this one course, of course, not going to be 2 by 2 is 4, right? Again, let's do 0. We want to test 0, right? The type of testing we want to do, maybe 2. And other type we want probably test negative values. Also, let's test negative values, right? Let's test negative values, negative numbers also, right? -2 equals 2. Okay. So that's good. So this already will be a test. So main guard, right? So we can use this so people can import it and we can test it, right? On this level, it works, right? On nothing happened, right? Everything works fine, right? So of course, if I say 20, right? Test will fail, assertion fail. Again, so that's the idea. That's the whole idea. Of course, you would probably want to do it test here. You know, define test add, you know, on basically, yeah, add spaceship, right? Yeah, it's also, by the way, yeah, this will work, right? So we can move all of our tests here, right? Let's move all of our unit tests. So this is unit test for unit test for add function. Okay, so this is one way to work, of course, right? You write these tests on. It's actually, I'll say, this is a way of working, this way of testing. So you have a nice library, right? You just add your library. So each time you add, so each time you add, so each time you add. So let's run it again. It work. Nothing. So good news. Add works. You know, test passed, right? So again, so that's a good news. So you want no message, right? So again, so this way of so in this way of unit testing, you would write a function. For each function, right, you want to test, basically, right? Not much, I'll say this, right? It's possible, right? And we have some time, right? It's this way of working. This way of working is possible and is better than nothing. But however, it is not the best way to do it because it is, you have to write a lot of code, lot of extra code, right? Extra code, right? So yeah, it's possible, and I think there's special fields for doing that. So we will look at the better, right? And you have to write a lot of extra tests, right? Extra tests, right? Of course, right? We will look in the next video. We will see that there's better. But this is already a good start, of course, if you do this, right? That you know, again. So what else will you test? Spaceship, again. Remember, we test since this won't fail, right? AI Python lets us, you know. We can also test test list addition, right? Also will work. Again, you want to test if you again, since Python is dynamic language, of course you want to add test different things. You can't really test float addition, right? It's not very not going to be very good, right? So be careful with float additions, but of course this will work. Or test, so you can add test. I mean, it's not so bad, right? But we'll see there is a better way, right? So this is fine, of course, right? Yeah. All right. So hopefully you got the idea of what unit testing involves, right? Again, why do you do this? Because, well, if you write a larger system, right, at some point you here you think, okay, it's obvious, right? But your assumptions might be challenged at some point, right? And if you write larger, maybe you make some tiny change and you might break something. And these tests will pick up on these errors much quicker than the customer, right? Than the end user, right? That's why, for example, SQLite software, right, has about, I think, 10 times as many tests than the actual code. The code for tests, I think, is in millions of lines. Actually, it's automatically generated, than actual code for SQLite database. All right, so next time, in next lecture, we will see, next video, we'll see that there's easier way to, maybe less painful way to do this type of testing.